So, guys, who's first? You're first, Coma. How you doing, man? I I think that StreamYard might put me live before I even realize it. Like, there's this little setup button, and as soon as I click it, I notice that comments start flooding in, but I didn't press the live button yet. But I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be switching over to OBS, like back to OBS, instead of using StreamYard because there's just some limitations with it I just don't like. Randy, how's it going? Yeah, minimum 20-second delay. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, it's part of it too. But what I like about OBS is the customization. Like if you're familiar with Photoshop, like you can add layers and customize every single aspect of the appearance you can think of. Whereas with StreamYard, it has like really cool features. Like I can have you pop up like this below my camera and stuff. But that's pretty much it. All right. So let's see. We got Randy, Tacoma, Sterling, Constantine. How you doing, man? Soul Train, Bluff. What's up? Luke, how you doing, man? Super. Yeah, let's get it. Okay, so let's get into the Bitcoin price action. So we were last talking about the retest of the daily macro momentum that we just tested up here recently, right? This is an uptrending daily level that's been holding us up for since around the evolving momentum. It's been holding us around 76,000, right? And we were close to losing it, but we had this fractalization evidence of us finding support off this area in the lower time frames. We were building this potential larger double bottom here, and internally we were trying to front run the neckline break with this break here. And like so far, so good. We on the lower time frames we were building like this head and shoulders kind of pattern against the previous value area low, right? We were talking about how this could be one of the little struggles that we could have along the way up when we just got to get acceptance into this value area. If we get acceptance into here, then we have the higher percentage likelihood of getting that rotation to the value area high at like 119K. But let's zoom in here really quick. Yeah, we need to currently, we're trying to hold support off of like these previous lows here and the valley area, the previous valley area high here. We're just getting a bounce off of it now. We're currently testing the golden pocket of the lower high and the unclaimed low right here. So if we find turbulence, we could see this being confluence with the current downtrending momentum. If we get that rejection, it might require us to do a small little trend line adjustment. But either way, yeah, this is like unconfirmed resistance right now. We're getting above the VWAP, which is nice. So we might potentially get that range bound price action just to combat this low until we finally break into it. But here is a good spot to prepare for a potential SFP. So you can mark your wick right about here. Same way I marked the low one as well. So we have the potential SFP location down here as well. And which would be roughly around the measurable target of this head and shoulders kind of posture that we got going on right now. Right, we got this left shoulder, head, right shoulder, right? We get the break. We already got the breakout. If we, so long as we don't invalidate it through like a higher high, like this is still a possible measurable base target, which is in line with this local demand zone right here, right? Because we got that impulse move, base, impulse move up. Got to watch this as a potential area of interest. We got a 15-minute order block there as well. So if we manage to get down there again, this could be a good spot to prepare for longs again. And we have the confluence of the previous value area low, the demand zone, the uptrending momentum still being around here. So we could ride it and test it again. But that's like, I'm kind of optimistic that we're going to hold this range and eventually get acceptance to the value area prior to this occurring. But yeah, I would be ready for longs down here if that were to occur. So that's Bitcoin. Nothing too exciting. Like the big move that we were wanting to have happened so far. And it's just a matter of getting the evidence of being told if whether or not we should, get completely out if you're still in a hold, or stay in if we get that break for continuation. So that's Bitcoin. Let's see. You guys want to look at Ethereum? Luke, let's take a look at that. Let's see. We got a decent run up. And we're all, guys, I didn't even realize we broke 40K. That's insane. So we breached past our supply concern. Like this is our most recent area of interest, similar to like Bitcoin's key area that we're looking at. But we can obviously see that Ethereum is getting some relative strength against Ethereum. So just by what we're seeing here, based on the data that we have with Bitcoin, it like Bitcoin's combating a previous value low, while Ethereum is breaking a macro key level, like an extremely important key level right now. Like this is like, if we hold this is all-time high kind of behavior. We can look at the others, or the Bitcoin dominance, and I could pretty sure, like based on what we're seeing here, the Bitcoin dominance should be going down. Yeah, we can see that right here. Let's go back. Yeah, Bitcoin dominance is going down. Crazy. So we have our couple of key areas drawn where we can anticipate attention to then be flipped to Bitcoin. And so we're in an area now that we drawn out yesterday. And we tapped into this one, had some range-bound price action off of it, but we never got even a close above the VWAP for like a turnaround, no reversal structure. We just had this slumpy continuation posture. And now we're coming down to our next key area of interest, where if we get that opposing change of character, we could then start seeing interest being focused towards Bitcoin rather than alts. But yeah, right now it's showing us that alts are getting most of the attention. And there's clear evidence of that on the Ethereum chart right now. So pretty cool. Let's see. Got our broad momentum here. We got the evolving momentum here. If we zoom out on the daily, we want to look far, far, far left to see if there's any key levels that we can watch for legacy SFPs. A legacy SFP is similar to a regular one, except you're just looking at older historical levels. Like this one from December 2024. And you're marking these levels to see if we sweep them and have reversal structure, like a reversal SFP. So this is the key level that I would watch. Just get your magnet tool out, make sure you're connected to it properly. And then look left to see if there's a higher level. And there isn't. So this is the primary key level. And we should mark, just got to delete this trend line, lower time frame stuff going on there. Should mark that level too. Okay, so now when we go back to the current price action, we could find out if we will get that daily SFP or not. So we just need to sweep the high, and preferably just to have the higher probability return close below this base, this body structure here. If we close below this body structure after we sweep this area, our probability of coming down to these daily lows is much, 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 much higher. So just keep your eye out on that. We have about 5 hours and 49 minutes before that confirms. Lots of time. And it doesn't have to, right? So it's... But yeah, this is pretty exciting. We got support off the previous supply bounce, right? We are hitting our head off this here. We anticipate this to be a potential area of interest that could cause a reversal, but we instead got like a break to the upside and we're using it as support. Pretty intense. So now we can delete that. Actually, that same area is an area of interest now for potential base of support. If we go range bound here, just like this area is as well. Just mark this level. Send it back. And we'll change it to green. And going back to the 15-minute. Yeah, so we don't have any evidence yet of weakness, but I would get ready just in case. But if we get a full body candle close here on the daily, yeah, all-time highs. Cool. Okay. Well, that's insane. We'll see what happens. This is our current bearish key level. It'll most likely evolve and change, but this is the current level that will induce a change of character on the 15-minute time frame. So if we break 3,929, we'll have a bearish change of character and it can flip bearish. But currently, its structure suggests that we could likely get a higher key level for sure before this would break. And we have a better area for a potential short or hold for a long. All right, cool. What else you guys want to look at? Let's go back to the Bitcoin chart. I'm still kind of struggling around here. Ethereum's getting all the attention. Bitcoin's at a halt while Ethereum's in a run. Okay, I moved my desk. I did move my desk. So like, its positioning before made sense for like YouTube and all that stuff. You know, it's easier for you guys to have like all the attention on me because I need all the attention. Just kidding. And it yeah, it just looked cool for lighting and stuff, right? But it wasn't very practical use of the space. So I put my desk back against the wall because before my computer desk, like if I were to draw it out, this is my studio here. This is like my door to get in. My computer desk was like dead center here. And like my plug-in for my wires was going all through here, right? And I had like another desk here in case like I'm here like in case anyone wants to come over to learn stuff, or if anyone wants to like work with me in the studio, right? So I instead moved my desk against the wall, so I have all this free space back here for like fitness stuff and all that stuff, and it keeps the wires all like behind the desk and stuff like that too. But yeah, and I have kids, and so whenever they want to come in, I almost always have to tell them not to trip over the wires when they're always wanting to play around with my workout equipment and stuff like that. It's kind of yeah, place like it was before in the past. Yeah, exactly. Got it all. Yeah, I moved everything and advice from other YouTubers for like the background and for attention and stuff like that. But I yeah, I just rather yeah use the space for the way I want to use it. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's go back. How is Karma is pumping? There were no transactions? Well, technically, I just pumped Karma. I just bought Karma from 2 transactions here, and it resulted in a 7.4% pump. So yeah, I just pumped Karma today, buying stuff because I don't just when I do the airdrops, I don't just airdrop funds from one of my large wallets. I buy it, then send it out. So doesn't impact the price negatively. It only impacts the price positively. Okay, let's catch up here. So like do TA on Polkadot. We could do that. All right, let's take a peek. We have a dot chart. Last time we looked at it was yesterday. Dot is at one of those macro key levels now. It broke its downtrending momentum. We were talking about yesterday how this would have been a really good spot to buy for spot holders. And to get in on a position of strength, you'd want to wait for like the break of the neckline. We got the break of the neckline for the ascending double bottom. And we got the retest of that neckline in confluence with the downtrending momentum, right? So this was the confirmation candle that this neckline was honored as a form of support. There was most likely a front run opportunity. There's actually there's a handful. There was one here. There was there's like a fib entry here for sure. Yeah, a bunch of opportunities, but this was like the kind of like the last call before you're starting to chase the price action, right? There might be opportunities from range bound price action in supply zones for potential continuations, or if we have pullbacks, you might be able to get in on like a Fibonacci low. But at this point, like this is now, you're basically chasing it for, hopefully it's just mostly short-term trades from here going forward. Okay, we just got the larger time frame change character occurrence when we broke this level because we had an ascending double bottom. If we had a descending one, it'd be different. The neckline itself would induce the change character. But instead we had this little awkward, I think this is called like what's known like as a chalk plus, right? So have you ever heard the term like change of character plus? I think that's what this would be in result to that. I've seen the term float around before, but I never really done research on it. So I'll find out soon. But I'm pretty confident that's what that was. So here now we're approaching we're inside the macro valley area right here at $3.83. And on the hourly time frame, we have had acceptance into it. So now we're coming into this previous supply concern that could cause us to come back down. But now that we've got acceptance back inside the valley area and we broke this momentum and we're seeing all this like bullish attention towards alts, I'm feeling a little bit more confident that DOT might be on its way to the opposite side, the macro valley area high. We'll cross our fingers because it's lied to us 3 times, right? Well, this is the 3rd time. We had a break of this macro momentum here before. We retested ascending to the bottom here, got that break, bounced off the valley area, and we ran up to the top of this valley area, swept the liquidity from these highs, and then we started coming back down. And same time here, except we didn't hit the measurable target. We got stuck in this supply zone and it came down. So now we got to watch to see if maybe if DOT's going to do the same thing and just end up creating a lower high. So we'll just watch out. If we pull a fib from this high to this low, we have the golden pocket here. I wonder if that's where it failed last time too. Yes, it did. Okay. So it failed at the golden pocket in confluence with the supply concern. And locally, our golden pocket is close to the local resistance that I've got mapped out right here. So if you were to box this zone between the 618 and the 786, this could be a key area where you got to anticipate potential reversal structure. And if we get it, it might be a good time to take some off the table. We also have the previous or the macro point of control here, like a really strong key level. So we got to watch as DOT might hit its head off around $4.20. So if I were to just box this zone and refine it, I'd refine it to the macro point of control, include the 618, right? The golden pocket level, and a little bit of the 786 level, and the local resistance, and just mark this as my primary barrier of concern. Let's send this to back. Delete that. Change the color. I'll delete this. Oh, my bad. Wrong anchor. There we go. And we can delete this. That's we mitigate that. There we go. So these are our key levels you want to watch out for. So if we have any turbulence, any form of structural resistance, just be mindful of what the price action could be warning you, right? But if we break this high, then our next target would be this local high here. If we break this high, then we'll have like the domino effect, right? We'll have the break of the fractalization of like the ascending double bottom here, here, right? We'll have one here, and then we'll have a massive one here, basically. So I hope that helps you out. It's looking strong though. Like finally waking up. I don't have very much dot, just like $1,000 worth of dot. So I'm hoping for, I'm just trying to hodl it to the macro value high around $7.40, potentially $10, depending on how we behave when we get up there. Chainlink from Nazil and Noah. Could take a peek at that. Chainlink has hit the target we spoke about yesterday. Just crushing it. It exceeded our target, actually. So we, we're talking about the potential macro double bottom, and this being our measurable double target. And we broke right through that little supply concern that we had at the point of control. Treat it as support. Got the higher high. You can grab all this liquidity too when we did that pullback. And now we're at the previous value area high here from this value area range. So at this point, you typically want to prepare for shorts. We'll see what happens if we get that value area high act as support with a brick of structure. We might see it rotate up further with the zoom out here a little bit. Right, so this is the bigger picture stuff. So if we get that higher high in confluence with using that value area high as support, right, this will look like a strong continuation after a break of this macro double bottom here. Right, and we're talking about this being the larger, more wild measurable target for Chainlink, getting at like this previous point control, this value area here, like getting acceptance to this value area is really all we need for us to feel comfortable that we're going to get that target met. Right, so if we get above like the 21.26, use that as support, get that brick of structure, then you can have a target extension. So if you're still in on the trade that we signaled here, then this is your warning sign telling you that A, prepare to get out, or B, hold a little longer. If you can hold that's a little longer and we get to that target, you'll be laughing. That'll be insane target. Yeah, it'll be awesome. I know some of you guys are still in. I saw some of the P&L cards you guys have been sharing. You're doing a really good job. We have this value area low. There we go. So 21.21, roughly right here. That's where you need that acceptance. Otherwise, right now, I'll be mentally more prepared for shorts, right? Like this too. So Chainlink's definitely got some relative strength against other assets. Okay. We can admire your beautiful plastic plant again. Yeah. It's really dark in here, all right? I would rather have like a real like plants and stuff in here, but not much survives in the place like this. It's just pure darkness. When I step out of this studio, it's like stepping out of a cave. So you guys forcing me to do like the Batman video, it's pretty fitting because it's like working inside of a cave. Kyle, do you use trailing stops on your scalp orders once they are in profit? I would, if I were to recommend using trailing stops, it would be based on like having like a follow up break of structure after entering your trade. So if you're, let's say, for example, you're in a long and you got in like a change of character, um, once you get that follow up break of structure, you can decide if you want to start using trailing stops. But I like to have some distance and breathing room away from my entry if I would use them. And I normally would only recommend using them if you're like going to sleep, right? If you want to see if the trailing stop will chase the price action just enough while you're asleep, so it'll secure better gains for you while you're passed out. But I don't normally use them. If I were to use them, I would use the average true range to trail my price action, and that would require you to like connect a bot to something like Cornix, and using like a tool like this. Well, I probably have it on my chart already, but yeah. So this little green, let's say you entered this long, it would like trail it like this here. And you could program stuff like Cornix to only close the trade if the body closes below here and not just like wick and touch, right? Because you can have it execute based on a market order decision as it trails and chases the price action that way. But I don't normally use it. Like I normally use market structure to define where I move my stop loss, like a break structure, and I'll hope for some distance, right? So let's say, for example, I entered like here on this change of character reaction on Bitcoin. I would need to see at least a 2 candle pullback and then a higher high, and then I'll move my stop loss from like something like here to here, and then wait for the next one. So we'll go from here to here, and then in this case scenario, from here, once you got that break of structure, you move it to here, and then you'd be stopped out shortly afterwards. So I usually move my stop loss based on market structure. I hope that helps. Okay, let's look at XRP, XLM, and Solana. So we got XRP. Oh, why does it do that? Okay, here we go. So XRP, we were talking about this downtrending momentum, given that like opposite behavior to what we saw here, right? We got this ascending head and shoulders, and then we got this descending inverse head and shoulders off this demand zone. We broke out, hit our measurable target, saw some exhaustion from it, which is a result of spot traders, by the way. If you're wondering why, like it's always when the measurable targets are hit, that price action tends to start to see like some exhaustion, price action were to go down. It's because like the majority of the traders, now how they impact the charts, they're looking at stuff the same way that we are, and they'll buy spot here, induce the pump, sell spot here, induce the drop. And well, over here we can see that we broke into a previous valley area, this valley area here, for the previous price action. We can zoom out so you can see it. There we go. So we got acceptance back inside of this valley area right here during this moment. And it just went wild after that. So like when we came down and wicked down and we tapped into this demand zone, like that was like a spark to a massive run. Insanity, honestly. And now we mitigate the supply concern that we were talking about here. We got the like a bearish change of character on the 15-minute here. When this candle broke, here we had the lower time frame doji reaction. What does that tell us? That tells us in the lower time frames, we had an incomplete confirmation, right? Pullback, retest, lower low. So this could have been, whenever you see a doji that warns you that it could be an opportunity to zoom in on the lower time frames to see if there's an incomplete confirmation, because that's what all dojis are. It's a form of indecision, and we're about to make that decision in usually the following candle. So yeah, doji warned you, yeah, for this confirmation rejection, and then we came down to this value area high. So here I'll be looking at like Fibonacci based exhaustion points. So from here to here, we can pull a fib and see where we can crawl our way up. We already mitigated this as a supply risk, right? So now we'll see if we can come up here and hit our head before coming down. We could pull a fixed range volume profile to give us more information. And here we're trying to get that potential acceptance into the value area. We'll see. Just gotta get that higher high. Be a super low time frame form of acceptance, but our point of control is in line with the golden pocket. So at this point, we can anticipate potential reversal posture. We have a really steep incline, so it'll be very simple for us to break this kind of momentum. If we maintain this momentum, it suggests that we'll get there in about 45 minutes. Pretty wild. Congrats to any XRP holders, honestly. Like, this thing's been performing extremely well. And like we're technically still on a path to this wild $13 target. Right? And this is just a pullback to retest our previous key levels to hopefully get that higher high and start continuing up towards that measurable target. I'm not 100% certain that this target will be hit, but it'd be incredibly interesting to see if it does. Because that's momentum-based target is wildly strong. I'll be looking at key levels. If we do get that higher high, you got to start looking right instead of looking left, right? You want to look at the psychological key levels, like $5, $4, $6, $7, and then look at the order books and see if there's a giant sell wall near them, because they're all psychological key levels. People like taping their limit exits at rounded numbers. But this is a low time frame internal stuff that we're watching right now. If we do manage to get that breach through that point of control and get the higher high, and we'll retest this previous value area high as support, then we could come up and potentially get acceptance into this previous value area at $3.42. But we first have to watch it as a form of resistance. So kind of similar to like the Chainlink vibes that we've got. Like we need to get that acceptance into a previous key level, like the previous value area level, so we can get that rotation and target extension higher to rotate to its value area high, which would be like around $3.57, which is pretty damn close to the all-time high. Cool. So that's XRP. Looking strong. So it makes sense for us to look at XLM next really quick, since they're pretty much the same asset. Let's be honest. Well, we don't have an XLM chart. Pull it up here. Stellar Lumens, one of my favorite assets for doing transfers out of and to Coinbase specifically, because it has its own network and you don't have to worry about the Ethereum based fees that you get from Coinbase when you're offloading your trading funds. So this was our supply concern before, and we mitigated this one as well. Yep. So now it's about the local. Yeah, it's about the local. Yeah, so we mitigated a previous supply concern, a couple of them. And we were pretty, what's this, the all-time high? Yeah, that looks like the all-time, that must be the all-time high. Go to the daily for a second, 5-day. Yeah, okay, cool. It's performing really well. Like this is the 5-day chart. And we have this massive double bottom posture, and we came down to retest it. And now we're on our path or journey to try to get the like a higher high for that continuation. And then from there, we should have a very easy time getting to the all-time high for XLM. I would mark these wick highs on the, yeah, these daily wick highs over here. Potential sweeps. They're going to induce a reversal. Your magnet tool, make sure you got it connected properly. Yeah, because we swept this recent one here, and it helped induce a reversal with an SFP. This is another example of a legacy SFP. But yeah, we broke down trade momentum. We had an ascending bottom, just like everything else, right? Except we tapped off of, like I said before, like the previous high, historical high, and the 50-day EMA. When we broke the momentum, we ran up, and we're currently in like tapping against this valley area, the supply concern here. We're trying our best to get that acceptance into it, but it's kind of failing a bit. We just hit our head off the point of control. Revolving momentum. Oh, it's broad momentum, sorry. It's been the 15. Bouncing off this demand. Okay. So we could be inducing a range here. So if we have this little rounded top, head and shoulders kind of posture, broke to the downside, lost the VWAP, came down, bounced off this demand zone. So now we're just trying to get that return back up. And if we fail to create a higher, get up here and get acceptance back inside this previous little demand, valley area, or a return back up to these highs and potentially sweep the higher highs. I'll be looking for longs again, down here again, if we come back down to return. They didn't really give you much, unless you're looking at the super low time frames. Much warning for an entry. Like structurally, it's just like got this strong V-shaped recovery. So if you're not in, hopefully it'll give you a second chance down here around 44 cents. Just a matter of waiting for that proper posture. And then when you do decide to jump in here, if we do pull back, then you'll be watching this high as your primary target of concern, like your primary barrier concern. If we break past it, then you'll have that continuation in that larger double bottom posture. But that's all dependent. That's all like based on whether or not we actually lose this momentum and come back down to this area. So if we do get it, hopefully we sweep that low and get the change of character. Otherwise, you'll be looking for something like a break above the VWAP, acceptance into this previous value area, and then a continuation up to basically hit our heads off around here. And like this, I wouldn't touch for a trade, but this one I definitely would. So that's XLM. You saying it was having good news. Pretty cool. I have to look into that. It's not really showing anything relevant on TradingView. Hi, Kyle. When does a scalp trade become a swing trade? That's a good question. So you have to know when your target's going to extend, basically. So if you're, let's look at Bitcoin for the most recent example, because it's actually a very good example. Sorry, phone call. Let's go back to the 15-minute. So here is this is a decent example because we're bouncing off of daily, larger time frame key levels when we came down here, right? So let's say you took this trade that we were talking about on the live here. After bouncing off of this daily momentum, it suggests that we could have like a more macro event to occur, right? Whenever we test like daily key levels or a bottom of a large range, let's say like, for example, this range has been going on for about 50 days before we broke out, right? Now, if you end up jumping in at the valley area low, you'd be first targeting like your barrier concerns along the way up and the valley area high, right? But your overall target's usually going to be around the valley area high and trying to target the extreme highs of the range, right? Now what you need to be aware of though is like the opposing concerns that could happen in these key levels that literally warn you that, okay, if X, like just like creating exit rules, same way you would create entry rules, you need to have exit rules, right? If your exit rules tell you it's time to get out and that we could rotate down, then you should listen to them and take profits. If you're someone who struggles with that, then take the weighted amount of profits required to make sure that you still close at around like a 1-to-2 or at least a 1-to-1 if you decide to like take partials at the top and then move your stop loss to around like break even. But you want to mathematically make it so that like if you do something like that, that you are still overall like going to be long-term profitable, like based on your win rate and then based on your risk to reward ratio of that setup. So taking these trades and you start seeing stuff like this, let's say I probably would have gotten out, but let's say you managed to stay in and you got that continuation posture, then that's a warning sign telling you, okay, we could be leaving this value area and extending our target to go further up. Same as like with this setup, we're tapping into like a macro key level, this momentum. You could have gotten in down here, had this break of structure, move your stop loss here. But if you're wanting to evolve and turn into a swing trade, you have to allow it to. So you can't be too aggressive with your stop loss adjustment. So if you are worried that there's reasoning for you to be swept around here, you can't evolve your stop loss to there, right? Because we're coming into an area of resistance. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to range here and sweep these lows before continuing to go up. And once you get acceptance to the value area, you get that target extension, then you know that you can stay in your trade much longer and treating it almost as if you're jumping into a new trade, right? So if you see reason to jump into a new trade, then you have reason to stay in your current ones, right? If you see reason to jump into a short, you have reason to get out of your longs, right? So it's just about whether or not the conditions will allow it, but you got to start off in a really good spot where the conditions will allow it too, like bottoms of ranges. So if we break to the upside on those ranges, you know you can stay in, or at key levels like this. So you know that there's a higher probability that could convert and turn into a swing trade. I hope that helps you out. That's just one of a couple of examples. But if you're a range trader, it's a little bit easier once you have trend-bound rules too. So if all your trend trading rules have been met, and if you're mostly range trading, then that could tell you, okay, with this particular range trading setup, I now notice that I have trend-bound rules being met. Like for example, you could enter a long at the bottom of the value area, or you can have like the trend hunter strategy that we teach inside the course. That's another example. When if you jump into a long at the bottom of like a valley area or a range, and the trend hunter rules like all activate near the valley area high, then that could tell you as a warning sign you can stay into your trade too. So it's good to learn multiple rules so you can evolve your active positions with your most active trading strategy. Okay. Let's try to catch up here. So Solana, let's take a look at Solana next, and I'll catch up on everything else here. Sol. So Solana lost momentum. This is the daily. We tested this demand zone that we got mapped out here, and then got a decent bounce so far. We're currently in a local supply concern. We were last talking about this kind of mapping scenario, right? Breaking this key level. We had a sell wall here, suppressing the price for a bit. Then we broke past it. And then melted right through this supply concern. Like we only had a little bit of turbulence. And then we ended up breaking it with like a bull flag posture, melting right through this area of interest. So we delete that now. We delete this. So congrats to anyone who may have taken that. We got this uptrending momentum here. And now we're in our next supply concern. I believe this is also a golden pocket. Probably from like here to here. Yeah. We also could pull a fib from this high to this low to see potential key levels as well. Not very much confluence with it other than the fact that right here, the 618 or the 786, sorry, it's aligned with this high. So you can refine the 786 with the hourly gold pocket. Not the hourly gold, the hourly order block and the previous value area low here. So you can mark this as a key area of interest because we have overlapping confluences here. So that's between 191 and 195. You send this to back short. Okay, delete this noise. I got a lot of other noise I should really focus on removing too. But yeah, right now we're just hitting our head off the top of this little supply concern here. We had this base here, right? We have an order block up here. That's why this whole thing's encased. And this is also like a golden pocket area for this impulse move down here to here. So we have some overlapping confluences in this area that could induce an opposing change of character that could start us to lose this momentum and start coming back down again. But I think we're more likely to induce a range, hopefully here, for a continuation up, and just have a good rest here for a little bit first. But right now on the hourly, this is our level here that we got to watch. Is if we get a full body candle close below there, we'll have an hourly change of character occurrence. Mark it here. There we go. Call this awkward ascending broadening wedge kind of posture. Yeah, right now there's nothing I can really suggest in terms of like a setup for Chainlink or for Solana. But hopefully we hold this up and range here instead of having that collapse after we hit that change of character. And Solana is a really good SFP trading asset. So around here, if you see some bearish SFPs, it could be a good time to prepare for some sweeps down to these lows. Karma to 20 million market cap is my dream. Even if Karma only got to like a 5 million market cap, $7 million market cap, that'd be pretty good. That'll be $1 each per Karma token. Pretty intense. At 20 million, yeah, that's pretty cool. The new website's almost done. It's like super close. I know I said that a couple times already, but it's like insanely close. Costume, let's look at Hype. We can look at Hype. HYPE. I'm curious about how White Hype is performing now. We had that really good double bottom scenario down here, right? We're going to talk about that as well. All my rules were met other than the change of character occurrence. But when you have the ascending double bombs, they're really good replacement of the change of character, right? So we have the downtrending momentum break at the valley area low. We normally look for a change of character, but we got the neckline break of an ascending double bottom instead. We had a rotation up to our supply concern where we expected some turbulence, and then we end up getting to our primary target. Shortly afterwards, we had another double bottom scenario against the previous neckline, trying to honor as a form of support. And we ran up, we got what's called 3 white knights right here. These is a bullish momentum based candlestick pattern, like a 3 candle pattern. If you ever see like a momentum based candle, what you prefer when you see them is like no wick on the bottom, no wick on the top. In this case, we have a tiny little wick here, but to see something like this is pretty damn close. And then this next candle, it's almost perfect example of it too. And we ran up from there. We used the valley area high as support, right? So if you're a trend trader, this could be a good trend-based rule. When you see something like that, it warns you that we're going to be rotating to either A, creating a new valley area, or getting acceptance into a previous one. In this case, we're trying to go up to get acceptance to a previous one, but we're at this supply barrier here. We mitigate the whole thing already, right? So there could be, whenever you see these, just assume that there could be residual sell orders or trap traders, right? So this is a spot where people will close usually at around break even or try to finish their sell order at their desired location, right? So now what we don't want to see is like a potential like head and shoulders, which looks like it's kind of forming now. But if we get a break of our key level, which is pretty much in line with the 50-day EMA. So if we lose the 50-day EMA and we have it act as resistance, then this could be the end of the run up short term for Hyperliquid. We come right back down to the valley area high here again, except this time we have demand here to worry about instead of supply. Right, so we'll mark this whole zone as a key level. If you want to refine it, we can mark it to just focus on the valley area high, because honestly, we have a order block here, our previous day VWAP, right? So there's lots of reason just to prepare for along here instead of encasing this entire thing. But you could watch the top of this level due to the fact that we do have an order block right on top of it in case we bounce off that previous high. We kind of did already on the lower time frames, like the 5-minute, but we could come back down to retest it here and come back up and have an awkward battle with the 50-day EMA in that kind of scenario. Just mark this as local support. But here's a good spot to prepare for longs if you're not already in LA. But I would be recommending anyone who jumped in on like this long down here to try your best to hold this position. This is the broad momentum. I'll be watching that. We could be filling this negative space for a bit, which this suggests that we could range for over a day up here. And if we do manage to break this downtrending momentum here, that's been holding it down since I believe it's all-time high. Then we just basically treat it one valley area at a time, right? If we get acceptance to this valley area, target the rotation to the valley area high. If we get support off this one, we'll have simultaneous acceptance into this one. And then we can start charting its value area high while also being mindful of any of the supply barriers, point of control along the way. Once we get acceptance to here, I personally would be targeting the all-time high again. But just being super watchful at this local high here at around $47. But that's all dependent on whether or not we can actually get acceptance into this value area. Because if we do get acceptance in this value area, then we'll have the simultaneous break of this momentum. We'll know that the pace of the sellers have shifted and the buyers have taken over completely. And we can get that stronger trend-based move up. It's all a matter of what happens here, like where we are now. We need to stay above the 50-day. And if I did a long down here, it could turn into a scalp, right? We might just hit our head off this 50-day alongside with this previous range resistance. But if we get acceptance, if we do get that long, it's a big ask, but if we do get that, then yeah, hopefully we get that run up continuation, acceptance of the value area and all that stuff. But yeah, looking good. I just marked this right here. Candle close. Start changing character level right now at $40.14. So we want to stay above that. We do not want to have a body close below this. We wouldn't mind a sweep, right? Because that would just give us an SFP, but we do not want to close. If you take the SFP, it could be a good potential front run for the continuation up. If you're, is it good enough for a re-entry? So yeah, so if you're to answer that question properly, if you're looking for an entry around here, yeah, here or the SFP here, that's what I'll be looking for. If you're not holding a position still, how could we have foreseen in the charts the massive run up on Chainlink? I'm not sure. I thought you were in the trade hunting call, but we were, yeah, we're talking about like how the macro could the internal price action could be the front run to the macro conditioning, right? Because the macro conditioning, we broke this downtrending momentum, right? And if getting the higher high here is what will allow us to know that we're honoring the key level as support to then get that target extension to the value area high. We need to break above this higher high and get acceptance above 2121 to get that stronger rotation to here. Now, if we look at the lower time frame stuff here, it's the same kind of behavior, except it's lower time frames. We had that double bottom posture. Like I didn't hold through this, so I understand. Like I was too aggressive with my stop loss. I closed half at the evolving momentum. And I did forget about the macro picture when I closed like 50%, right? Because we had the evolving momentum that was lost, and we still had the broad momentum here that could have held us up, right? And so I got the close, we got okay win, and then yeah, we broke through the supply, and when we broke this neckline, that's when it really solidified some of the answers of the macro continuation, right? Because when we broke that neckline, we broke into a valley area, which would give us the target of at least the point of control, which is aligned with the double bottom posture target that we were looking at. And then we got the support bounce off the point of control, telling us that we can get to the value area high. So it has internally, it has exceeded our expectations a little bit and reached its value. Yeah, reached to the other side of the whole valley area. So it's pretty cool. But now, like, because it did this, if we get that higher high, then we can have the bigger picture double bottom play out. Some people capitalized on it, but we were out early. Yeah, I was out early. Some of the members held. Let's see. Kyle, true story from today. I had a phone call from a scammer pretending to be Binance customer service. She knew a lot of my details and was trying to scam me by urgent security threat. Stay safe. Yeah, I got a call today too. It's really annoying because they just create new phone numbers, like, right? So you block them. They're just gonna rotate to a new number through like a number generator. Yeah, I got a scam call too. It's a regular thing, but so long as you're aware that Binance will never reach out to you, right? And if they have your details, they likely scraped it from a insecure location. I don't remember the service, but there's a data service that you can use that will allow you. They'll basically hunt around for your information to basically rip it all, like take it all down. So scammers can't really find your information anymore. Same with the DMs, guys. Like if you get a message from like a Kyle, it's most likely a scammer. If you message, if that Kyle messaged you first, it's very likely a scammer. Like I'll always reply to your messages, guys, but I'll never be the first one to message you. I've only seen order book for Ethereum, Bitcoin on CoinGlass. Where do I find order books for alts? You can use Bookmap. So you use Bookmap. You could use your exchange. Your exchange has them too. Now, your exchange is ones. I do not like trading on Coinbase because their fees are absolutely disgusting. But Coinbase has the best order books in terms of like its depth chart and its readability. But most exchanges have terrible readability with their order books. Like you got to be, they only show you like 40 orders. So it's very easy for algorithmic bots to flood those orders to blind you from being able to see stuff. Yeah, Bookmap is one I would recommend for alts. It's free to an extent. You can do quite a bit on it for free, but it's worth the payment if you're going to use it. It's just like an order book, except it'll show you. I'll pull it up here. I'm not sponsored from these guys, but I highly recommend checking it out. So here, it's kind of what it looks like. It's like a regular heat map where you see like your limit orders as like these straight lines here. The closer it is to red, the more likely it is to cause a higher impact. The closer it is to blue, the more likely it is to not give you like a strong impact at all. But what's nice about this is also shows you when the orders are lifted and moved and changed. And you have these bubbles where the candles would normally be to represent market orders. So if you see a big red bubble, it's telling you there's a large market order that was for selling. A big green bubble will be used for like a buy market order indication. It's super easy to read and understand. Like once you, like, yeah, if you have like more than like a few months of experience in trading, like you'll look at this chart and almost immediately understand it. But if you have any questions about this, you can reach out to me in the Discord and I can help you out. Cardano's doing some interesting stuff from Jose. Macro-wise is getting towards the apex of a wedge and is building a lot of tension. I have been watching closely. Might be worth looking at. Yeah, let's take a look at Cardano. I don't own very much Cardano, but it might be one that I accumulate a little tiny bit more of. We're still on our way, on our journey towards our measurable target around 93 cents. We had this falling wedge posture. We mitigated this supply risk here. We are currently mitigating this supply risk right now, where we're getting this little bit of turbulence. We have this previous value area here that's manipulated the price action quite a bit through here. And now we're getting acceptance into it right here again. We just need to have that higher high, and then we'll have that rotation up to 82.76, right? If we instead get that break of this neckline, we'll be watching this demand zone right here at 75.82. So you can box this zone for a potential long opportunity. here. And you can hope for the close above here for the continuation. It'd be better if you're in an existing position to just, hold if we break this, not enter a new one. All right. And then if you haven't jumped into a position, then you can be hopeful for a break here. So you can prepare for a reversal here. And maybe even a SFP. I've never traded an SFP on Cardano before, so I don't know how reliable it is. But if I was looking here, I'd be looking for a potential SFP opportunity that could front run a change of character to get that continuation up. That would align with the active momentum if that were to occur. So this is the uptrending momentum. The Cardano loves to honor its momentum. So if you're someone who likes to use trend lines to define decisions, like I would recommend like using trend lines on Cardano for in terms of like tracking the pace of the buyers and tracking the pace of the sellers and finding confluences off of them, right? Don't take action just when we tap them. I wouldn't personally ever recommend that. But if you see like evidence structurally of support near them and confluence, let's say like a golden pocket or whatever your rules you decide your rules to be, that's what I'd be looking for. Something like this. Break of like downtrending momentum, change of character off of the broad momentum, and then start targeting this high in hopes for continuation up. Let me undo that in case we come back to it. Okay, that's Cardano. Looking great. Like we got a golden cross. We're above the 50-day. We're above the 200. So it's looking healthy for a strong move up soon. It's already started, honestly. Like it initiated the break. There's a front run opportunity here in the lower time frames for like this inverse head and shoulders, break off the 50-day. We hit its measurable target, came down, retested, broke the momentum after the retest. And then we broke this down to the bottom, retested it as well. Like it's doing all of its bullish plays are playing out perfectly. Thanks, man. Oh, thanks for the tip again, man. Like every day. I appreciate it. What is a broadening wedge? Broadening wedge. Let me go through that really quick. Luckily, it's an easy lesson. So here, let's say there's different types of broadening wedge behavior, right? There's descending broadening wedge. This is when you're drawing with trend lines, you'll notice that there's what's called an apex point, right? Where there are two areas of interest meet, right? And during those times, we normally have a high volume decision after the break, right? Because we're getting squeezed the order flow is getting squeezed to the point where we end up breaking normally the direction where the most amount of liquidity is, right? So if we have lots of liquidity resting up here compared to here, that helps us with our statistical edge in knowing which direction this is going to break. But you still just got to wait for that structural warning too. You want to have that change of character reaction after the break and try to get in on that. Now, with broadening wedges, they don't have an apex point. They have an area of usually tight consolidation, and the volume starts to pick up dramatically over time. And it normally happens in areas of like, let's say, for example, we come up and we have like this broadening wedge, is something like this, right? So this is like how you kind of like draw it out. You'll see resistance that's downtrending like this. You see that support's downtrending kind of like this. And this is what's known as a descending broadening wedge, where volume, it starts off slow because of lack of confidence near resistance. But then the behavior of the traders start to they get more amped up, a lot more volume picks up until eventually we typically break these to the upside, but the measurable target is very boring. We normally just go up and try to grab this as the target. So you never want to try to trade a breakout of these. You want to try to get in on the lows and try to like front run that break, because the measurable target from here to here is almost never a 1 to 2. But if you get in around here, you can have like a 1 to 3, 1 to 4, trying to front run that break. So it's normally you'll have like SFP opportunities down here or a strong demand zone. Let's say we had like a base here before we had to move up, like a strong demand zone here to watch, because the trader's confidence is building stronger and stronger as we get closer to that. Everyone's like trying to get in and undercut each other, and then we end up usually getting the break to the upside. And the opposite is kind of true for the ascending broadening wedges, where you have something like this. Price action comes up, and then the volatility starts to pick up from here. But these normally break to the downside. So we're grabbing liquidity from the upside, adding and stacking from the downside. So we're more likely to grab it all from the downside. Right? Same reason why we have to prepare for this. And then we have example of something like this kind of broadening wedge, or ascending kind of regression trend behavior, right? That's kind of what it is, man. They're not fun to trade, I'll tell you that. You always want to try to get in them internally, prepare for their moves, their breaks, just like you kind of would with almost any formation, right? You're trying to trade formations. You always want to look at the market structure to find the statistical advantage to try to get that break, get in early before the break, kind of thing. All formations are really mainly good for is understanding the psychology of what's going on in the background, so you can have the statistical outcome of direction. Kyle, if you have Bookmap, why do you use CoinGlass? Isn't it just more clear? Do you want to look at different exchanges instead? Mainly because I dominantly trade Bitcoin. That's why I use CoinGlass the most. Like Bookmap is great. It is hardware dependent. With Bookmap, you have to download it onto your device in order to use it. I don't have nothing against Bookmap. I usually recommend it to like everybody. I just personally only use it CoinGlass because it's just easy access, and I'm able to do it on the fly while I'm looking at the Bitcoin price action. Can you check CRO? Yeah, see how CRO is doing. Oh, I do. I thought I had a CRO chart. I guess not. We'll pull it up here. Kronos, go on OKX. Okay. Just gonna zoom out. Nice. Hey, there's a macro version of a descending broadening wedge. That's funny. We're just talking about that. So yeah, volume picking up like crazy, right? See how like the volume just gets wild from these things. Now, seeing a macro one like this is actually pretty damn rare. They're usually like super low time frame stuff, like hourly, 15-minute stuff like that. Not very common to see something like this on the daily. It could be an indication of a supply. I don't know much about Kronos, but it could be an indication of supply too. If you have low supply, it's easy to cause these kind of swings. Think like Yearn Finance, for example. Like their swings are just wild. Getting in on like a Yearn Finance low, just buying one of their tokens and then selling it near their highs, you pretty much like 3x, 4x your money almost every time. So let's pull a fib from this high to this low here. We have a golden pocket and 786 near the supply concern. The floor, like the valley area low here, is also very concerned. We're coming up to it now. We're probably going to tap into it today. There we go. Let's delete this. And the measurable target for this double bottom. Yeah, it's right to the value area low. So 6, we're close to hitting that double bottom measurable target. It's at 16.5. We're close to tapping into this daily order block. So here's our little final boss before getting acceptance into this value area where I'm expecting us to have some hardcore turbulence again. Yeah, you might have an SFP opportunity up here too at these highs. If we end up getting up there, yeah, we should be able to get up there. I'm feeling pretty confident about it. And we have, the last time we looked at Kronos, we were actually looking at this previous wick here from way back over here, like a legacy SFP. Looks like it played out pretty damn well. Even through this pullback, you were able to hold it. And we had this level here watching for a potential SFP, but instead got the change of character. So that broke. This is the uptrending momentum. Let's go. We're on the hourly. Okay. Yeah. Even if we get the bearish hourly change of character like here, I would expect us to be range bound. Like we have this decent demand zone here alongside this previous value area high. So if we do like flip bearish on the hourly by breaking this low, I think we're likely just going to induce a range, even after the break of momentum. But if we hold this momentum, the momentum suggests that we'll hit our next barrier concern, which is around 16.5 in about 2 days maximum, unless we go straight up, of course. So I expect this thing to consolidate if it does flip bearish on the hourly, with this being the key area of interest. We have our VWAP there. We have our local demand zone there. We have our previous value area high here. Let's mark that up, actually. So this is like the worst case scenario. Break this low. I'd be waiting for something like that. Tap off the momentum. Tap out the value area high into the demand zone. Get back above the VWAP and come back up. If we break that low. There's nothing else more to prepare for, right? If you're already in, then awesome. We had this clear evidence of reversal here. We had the SFP. We had a change of character. Like this SFP right here was the front run to this change of character. When we came up, we watched this as a supply concern. The supply concern got mitigated, created a right shoulder, giving you a target extension with the inverse head and shoulders. And now we're at the value area high where we could have that target extension again to 16.5 where our next value area is. There's a daily order block here, not just an hourly one. So we got to watch this as our resistance area, right? And that could bring us into a range, like more of a macro range where this is the expectation here. Like if we do break this low, I'm thinking more of a smaller range before continuation. Whereas if we come up here first, I'm still thinking that we're likely going to have a larger range here before continuing up, or maybe even reversing. Kyle, you should low-key shout out your trading course whenever someone asks a question that you cover in depth in the course, such as formations that people ask about. I appreciate that, man. I'm not a very good salesy guy. I'm just here to try to help. But yeah, I have notes literally to tell me myself to like, hey, make sure you talk about this. because I'm not good at bringing up those kind of stuff. I really appreciate that, man. You guys kind of do it for me all the time. Like you guys like make posts like you guys should buy the course. So I feel like you do my job for me. I appreciate that. But yeah, what Jose said. We have like a 30-day course that will help you like start from brand new trader to becoming a profitable trader. There is obviously going to be some gaps that I might be missing, but I fill those gaps all the time. If you guys like end up asking, if I see a repeat question, very shortly afterwards, you'll see in the course, right? So it's a forever growing course that you guys will be able to have access to just by being a member. There's no crazy wild upfront payment. It's just all included in your membership. And it's not just one course. There's a mindset course to help you guys deal with your FOMO and planning your goals. There's decentralized course to help you understand the more detailed side of investing, like the decentralized finance, like knowing how to get passive income by providing liquidity to liquidity pools. Does Fanova members get access to the course? Do InvestiShare members get the course or only Fanova? They both get it. So Fanova is subcontracted to hire an InvestiShare to provide the same services. So anyone who's a member of Fanova will also get access to the courses too. Day 22 for me now, Kyle. I'm tired of your voice. Yeah, I got that message before too. Like a friend of mine, Sterling, actually, the new mod, he's taking the course right now. And sometimes I'll get a message from his wife. It's like, I'm tired of hearing your voice through Sterling's computer. So whenever someone like turns on the course in the same room as me, I usually leave the room because I'm tired of hearing my own voice too. So I get you. Amazing course. I'm constantly surprised by how much content you've covered in there. Thanks, man. It's still not enough. I still want to throw some more stuff in there. All right, cool. Let's go back to Bitcoin, see how it's evolved, because I did see some turbulence. We got this doji, right? So now we can look at the lower time frames to see how the doji is performing. Switch to a regular chart here. So again, if you were to, it's a little easier if you kind of circle it, right? Because we're on the hourly right now. If you circle it, it's a little bit easier for you to know like what you're kind of encasing the information you're trying to analyze in the lower time frames. So something like this, if you're trying to like analyze that candle on a lower time frame, I can go to like the 15-minute and know that that's likely the doji, right? So in this case, the lack of confirmation would be the higher high, right? So we had the pullback. Now we want that break of structure to break out here, but it's an indecision phase, right? Because it can go either direction. So if we break this low and we fail to create the higher high, we can double top here and come right back down. If we get this break of structure, then we can have that continuation, break of momentum, and start targeting these highs again, while being super mindful of this wick. That's why I got it marked here in case we SFP off it and come back down. Dojis on the daily are usually something you really want to look out for. You see those, especially near like, let's say you have a doji like right here. And let's pretend this is a daily time frame. You see doji like somewhere around here. And you know that's an incomplete confirmation, and you could give yourself an edge by zooming in the lower time frames, putting your stop loss below low, and then riding it up. One of our swing trader experts, David, he calls them doji sandwiches because he like, it's basically when it's time to eat, right? Getting ready to eat, getting ready to make money in the space. Pretty cool. Mind covering your take on Ethereum against Bitcoin. Lucas had some macro takes yesterday. It was interesting. Oh yeah. I bet right now Ethereum is beating BTC right now. So whenever you see someone pull up a chart that has two assets kind of like merged together, like ETH BTC, it's called a comp analysis. So you can compare the two assets to see which one would be best for you to hold during this time. And if you see, for example, like the Ethereum chart breaking against like the Bitcoin chart, it tells you that it could be a time to swap your Bitcoin for Ethereum during that moment to increase your overall to make sure you're getting into the asset of strength that could improve your P&L growth at a faster pace. So you said ETH BTC chart. I'm not sure why it's not. Let me check here. There we go. Okay. So this is Ethereum against Bitcoin on the 15. Let's go to the daily quick. So a lot like the dominance chart, like the Bitcoin dominance chart, how this could help you. It could help you in a similar way if you're only focusing on trading like one asset and not swapping them back and forth. This is really helpful for those who like to swap back and forth between assets on the ones that it could be a good idea to like hold Bitcoin for hold Ethereum, for example, at this time, right? If we break this change of character, would have the confidence of getting above the 200-day EMA, right? So during that moment, you could have known like, okay, this could be a good time to switch my Bitcoin to Ethereum. And so far, so good. We got the golden cross, pretty cool. We're coming in on a supply concern, but I want to zoom out a little bit further. Oh, look at this rounded curve. That's insane. I just think liquidity when I see stuff like this. Now, you can't really think that way with a chart like this because there's not actual liquidity on this as a comp chart. So just like Bitcoin dominance, there's not actual liquidity above like the highs. But we do have to watch the supply concerns and treat them like supply because that's typically areas where you can anticipate the interest to shift from one asset to the other. So I'd like to take things one stage at a time. And unfortunately, there's a lot of areas of interest here. I'm just going to get rid of this noise for a second. There we go. I got two of these. I can delete one of them. Left here. And we left here. Oh, too far down. Oh, no, that's fine. So we have our three primary areas of interest. For those of you who don't know who Lucas is, when Ben's bringing that up, Lucas is one of our market structural coaches. He's extremely good at market structure. I'm pretty sure that that guy could trade only with market structure and have a really high win rate. Send it back. Like, of course, market structure, you could do pretty well with just market structure, but adding layers over top of market structure is how you like build rules for yourself to increase your probability of being right. For example, seeing divergence, bullish divergence after a change of character would be more relevant than just a change of character without divergence, or a change of character at a value or low, for example, versus one that's not, right? Because not every change of character is equal. But yeah, we're so far. Just gonna change this. Right? Momentum. Evolving momentum here. Measurable target's already been hit. Oh, we're hitting it now, sorry. So now we're at our first area of concern where the attention might flip from Ethereum to Bitcoin, right? It doesn't mean Ethereum is going to go down, but it does mean that Ethereum could slow down and Bitcoin's pace could speed up, kind of thing, right? So during this time, basically, you got to prepare for Bitcoin outperforming Ethereum. And it makes sense too, because Ethereum is currently at like an all-time high key area, like not the all-time high, but it's at a key area that could induce a all-time high. And so we can expect that Ethereum could meet some resistance soon. And if it does, then we might see relative weakness in Ethereum that could induce a reversal, right? So we'll see how it performs here. Obviously, anything could happen. We could find support here and get that rotation up, and then have a continuation from that value high to our next key area of interest up here at like 0.05. But these are the 3 levels I would watch the most, man, personally. We're at one right now as we speak, which aligns really well with what's going on with Ethereum. I think it seems stagnant right now. Yeah, things are starting to slow down a bit. Yeah, we're at that value high, right? So this is where you normally prepare for shorts. And if we do, I think this is a spot that I'd watch. Nice point of control here. Can induce a reversal. Short-term scalp to the high kind of thing. What is a golden cross mean on a comp chart? So like golden cross is like, well, like think of the EMAs, right? They're just a compilation of data based on X amount of candles, right? So a 50-day EMA is based on the compilation of the moving average from the last 50 candles. Same thing with the 200s, the last 200 candles. So when you see a golden cross on a comp chart, it's just suggesting that the pace in which we expect the asset to grow as will go at a faster rate. The golden crosses usually are a suggestion of a shift in the momentum, right? So if we have a golden cross, things are normally going to be flipping bullish based on the compilation of data between the 2 moving averages. A death cross, the opposite is true. And it comes with a really high probability with most assets too. Like I wouldn't trust it on a young asset that's only been around for like 250 days, but I would trust it a lot more on an asset that's been around for about 600 days, where you might have a couple crosses to give yourself some data from it. Bitcoin's chart is one of the very few that I trust, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the network tokens too, like Cardano and Chainlink. None of the newer ones like INJ, like the OG ones like AVAX and BNB and Solana, like those ones are fine. But young assets, I wouldn't trust them. Oh, you can trade this on Binance, so there is liquidity. So then, yeah, there would be liquidity if it's on Binance. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely, yeah. So if there's a chart for it, there definitely would be liquidity. Just local onto that exchange. Do you see any short opportunities coming for Link? Short opportunities? Yeah. Yeah, if we get that higher high, this would be a key level that I would watch for a short right here. So I need to see something like this. Get that break of structure, create this as our strong low, break the strong low, hope for a retest, and come down. If we do not get this level broken, get a higher high first, then this is our key level for an hourly change of character. We go to the 15-minute and see what we can get for a potential front run. We have a demand zone here we got to watch. But I would expect a bounce here either way, just because the fact we have the 15-minute order block, right? And we have this little demand here still left. That helped us induce this bounce here. We had this little small double bottom off of the previous value high in confluence with this little demand zone here. But yeah, if we get that higher high, I'll be looking for this break for a potential short. But it might be a short-lived short. No pun intended. If we get the point of control acting as a form of support, it can come immediately against us. We might get stuck in a weird, awkward double distribution range here. But yeah, this is not the valid key level yet until we get that high first. We get that like double top against the VWAP. What's good, Kyle? Finally able to join live again. Welcome to the party, man. Yeah, Mondays and I think you're on the other side of the world. So Mondays and Fridays, I do them at 2 o'clock. So people on the opposite side of the world have a better chance of getting in. And I don't do any overlap over the other coaches' calls or lives either. Pulse Chain announces 170K Ethereum treasury. Nice. Verify on-chain trust number 1. A couple other members asked for Cubic TA the time I was gone. Yeah, man, there are people, there's some members in the community that are really into Cubic, like Caliber. Like Caliber really likes Cubic, so he'll bring it up all the time. You want to look at Cubic and Pulse Chain, guys? Let's look at Pulse Chain, see what's going on there. I don't think I have a Pulse Chain chart. No, I don't. It's my impulse strategy. Pulse Chain. What's Pulse Chain's ticker? Not Pulse, is it? Bitcoin market cap. Let's see. Pulse Chain, PLS. Okay. What is going on? Is it not on TradingView? It might not be on TradingView. It's a big surprise to me because I'm like, it's not a small asset. I think the ticker is scam. Okay, is it got that scammer in here? Okay. I'm telling you though, I thought Pulse Chain was like a legit thing. Well, the exchanges that it's listed on are not safe. They're not showing any of the reserves. So they're already putting their, if it is a legit thing, they're not putting their money on something safe. Okay, Cubic. We know Cubic's not a scam. Let's go. Let's go to Cubic. Cubic UCT, July 31st. Okay, it's been about a week and so since we last looked at it. We were looking at the possibility of reversal of this downtrend momentum at the time, and this demand zone here. The demand zone got, was that an undercut? That's an undercut. Yeah. We swept this liquidity here, never tapped here until we end up going right through it. They changed the equation on the right-hand side. So we have the power of 5 here showing the decimals. Delete this. Not helpful to us anymore. Pull a fixed range volume profile from here to here. Got another one here to here. Like macro wise, what Cubic has done has been great. Like finally, we've got above the 200-day EMA. We're using that as resistance for a bit. We were really struggling alongside this previous point of control here, this strong volume node, really helping with suppressing the price alongside with the local value area high until eventually we used the value area as support, got above the 200-day EMA. And at that point, we were a little bit nervous about this high, but we ended up breaking right through it, got to the value area high really quickly. And now our daily strong low is way over here. So we're bullish on the daily until we break this level or have a close below it at least. I'll be really, it's probably a big ask, but if Cubic were to come down here, I would love to get a daily SFP off of that alongside the 200-day EMA retest. That'd be pretty intense. So you prepare for something like that, but that's a big ask. You have to wait a little bit of time for something like that. We have this, currently we have this ascending momentum here. It's not really validated yet. Let's go to the hourly. We have a supply concern right here. It's got to be hotkeys for that. I don't. So right now, I'll be looking for potential longs down here. We have the confluence of the momentum. It's not strong momentum. Wouldn't trust it just yet, but we have the confluence of it so far. We have the valley area low down here. If we do come down here again, I'll be looking for the bottom break of momentum and then targeting these highs again in hopes that we build an ascending double bottom like this to mitigate the supply for a potential retest and acceptance to this valley area here. But yeah, we could have the front run for an opportunity like that here if we get that double bottom posture. Look for like a low time frame, like 15-minute change of character occurrence. This thing's a little bit awkward to trade lower time frames because it loves to be a little bit wicky. That could like knock you out before you run up. So it's better for a swing trader. But if you give your stop loss enough breathing room, you could be able to get the potential R&R for a move like this. Yeah, nothing else other than that. But it's doing extremely well. We just need to hold above here for as long as we can so we can get that strong rotation back up to its all-time highs. With the amount of inflows into the ETFs, is it basically impossible for ETH to be back at 2K or 2.5K, right? You never ever want to say impossible because every time I hear someone say that, they get destroyed. So always, you should trade anything as if it can go to zero and invest in anything as if it can go to zero. I'm not saying that will ever happen with Ethereum or Bitcoin or anything like that, but you got to trade and behave as if it could happen, right? But yes, you are right in the sense where the ETFs increase the floor value of the asset because it makes it remarkably harder for people for the price to drop, right? So they're not legally allowed to sell their Ethereum holdings when a client purchases their ETF, right? So they have to hold it. If they start staking it, that'd be kind of cool because then you might be able to see unlock dates to determine the floor value, like the locked floor value of an asset that way. Would require some macro event. Yeah. PLX. Okay. PLX is the ticker. I still don't see it. And sorry, man, I still can't see PLS. Oh, yeah. Even with PLS, I can't see it. It might have to be a decentralized like DEX. We might use DEX Screener to do TA on it. Oh, we just hit 7 cents on Karma. Congrats to the holders. We got a decent move there. PLX. Yeah, I still can't find it. Like I'm assuming it's not this because it's $600 worth of market cap, $438 of liquidity. You can't even trade that. This is somewhat looking like a viable asset here. PLX wrap Bitcoin. If this is it, and it's had this like bear flag posture, but it's breaking to the upside right now. We have a supply concern right here between like 1.91 and 1.63. So a pretty decent one in terms of percentages. Like it's pretty deep. Yeah, 15% supply concern. So we get that retest, higher high, confirm this as support. Give it the conservative target, 211, supply barrier. Like I don't even know if I'm charting the right asset for you. Just not showing up on my trading view. But this is 217 could be the measurable target into the supply concern here. I'll be mindful of the supply high here at 191.33. If we instead, come up and then we break this low, we'll have the change of character and we'll have acceptance right back into here. And whenever you see like a bear flag or posture like this, break to the upside and then get acceptance within it, we tend to have an aggressive break to the opposite side like that. But we have a lot of support here that could induce a bounce if that were to occur. Let's see. Would we be able to talk about portfolio rotations we talked about on Discord? It is a legit asset. Oh yeah, no, it's a legit asset, but just for some reason it's not showing up on my trading view, so I can't pull it up. I did a lot of research on Pulse Chain when it was first like launching. Portfolio rotations, yeah, we could talk about that. It's really, really situational for the individual though. Like if you're holding some assets at a loss, for example, and like other assets are having more like relative strength, you can just there are points where you could sell and supply with the asset you're holding at a loss to then rotate to a new asset that will provide you a recovery of your losses. It's super situational based on the person. If all your assets are in a gain, you could still do that kind of rotation, except you'd be looking at selling at the highs to then take either your seed investment or your profits and rotating at lows of assets that have yet to do their run. It's not a brief conversation and I don't have very much time left, but we can definitely do like a long conversation like that with the community and like a community call, because yeah, I'd rather be talking with someone about like a list of assets that they're holding, the prices that they bought in, and what kind of exposure that they have, right? Because it's super unique for the individual. Off top question: how many push-ups do I have to do to get into life? You know what's funny? Because I changed my background, like I'm not against the wall anymore, and you guys can see a little bit more what's behind me or what's in the room. Sterling did mention that like someone's gonna bring up push-ups and have me do push-ups or something like that because they could see like my push-up bar and my yoga mat and stuff like that. But how many push-ups do you have to get a lifetime membership? That lifetime membership's an NFT system that allow you to sell it. It's be a lot of push-ups, bro. Like we don't have very many of the NFTs because like usually lifetime stuff that can hurt your business because you're bringing in more costs for a short-term gain. Like I understand like if anyone's here is like starting their own business and you decide to do like lifetime model for like memberships for your platform or your tool or your software, it's really good for like startup funds, but it does shoot you in the foot long term. 7 cents for Kara, what a bargain. I need to buy more. Yeah. I asked you about a recommendation about my portfolio. Okay. You might be, I won't show the DMs a sec here. I'm just trying to make the connection. Because I just helped someone with that yesterday in a coaching call. Oh yeah, okay. Vacation, here you are. I can see all your stuff. I see with your DM that you sent me, the amount of tokens that you are holding. Do you know could you also like edit that so that shows you where you bought it, like what price? I can give you a lot more help on how you could rotate funds. Your portfolio is pretty decent. I can see a couple of these might be a little nerve-wracking, like File. I don't know much about Prop C or Rio. But you have a decent portfolio. Where I would try to like hold some of these, depending on where you're holding. If you're holding at a loss, you might be able to. So what you're looking for is shifting a bit of capital into Cubic. Not sure which one I should rotate. Okay. I would pick the so if you rotate into Cubic, the thing is I'm going to be recommending you to hold some of these even if you're at a loss, because some of these are going to recover very soon or very likely going to recover, like Filecoin, for example. But let's take, for example, Filecoin. If you want to rotate some of that into Cubic. So File is at a macro. Just went to price discovery, right? In the downside in a really negative way. But right now, like this is a valley area low that's been for about 1,000 days, 986 days. We broke down, but we're building a posture that suggests a potential bullish rotation up, right? Right now, it's actively bearish, but if we break this key level here, we'd break an internal double bottom and likely get above the 200-day EMA. By the time price action catches up, that 200 EMA is going to be aligned with that neckline. So if we get above that, I'll be looking for an exit plan around $5.80. Right? That's my current exit plan with Filecoin. So I hold some Filecoin, and that's where I'll be preparing to exit. We do have like this supply concern here, of course, that you got to watch out for. So it's all depending on the timing in which we get up to these highs. If it's a slow crawl up, then I'll be looking at this low here. Right? Let's say we get the pathing is something like this. Right? And we hit the downtrend momentum in confluence with the supply concern. Then I'll be looking for potential exit, and then I'll close my position, for example, and then I would look to the asset you want to accumulate and buy it at its local lows, and you can rotate your funds that way. So you can either, sell it. I'm not sure if this will be at a gain for you or at a loss. Like for me personally, like if I were to sell here, it'd be at a gain, but I'm aiming for here, hopefully, this point of control at $5.72. It's like a macro point of interest. That's my hopium right now. We'll see if we get there. But yeah, it's a big ask. But typically, this structure has a boring target, similar to the broadening wedge, where we would normally hit here before we get exhaustion. If we do, I'm expecting a retest to the 200 EMA for hopefully a continuation up. So I still think that there's more that this thing can recover, but I don't think it's going to get to new all-time highs because of its tokenomics are absolutely terrible. File tokens tokenomics are kind of nightmarish. So if you look at like the all-time high, it was at like $235, but the inflationary damage made it so that if you were to put the exact same amount of funds into Filecoin that was in it at its all-time high today, it would be worth $7, right? Because of the amount of inflationary impact it has. It keeps minting and minting and minting more tokens. So this asset is going to be in a forever downtrend unless they change their tokenomics, which they cannot do without relaunching their tokens because their contract's immutable. It's similar to what you saw with Gala, right? When it went from V1 to V2, they had to relaunch in order to change things because you can't just make certain changes on an immutable contract. It's written in stone. It's a part of the security feature of crypto, right? So we can't assume that we could get back to these highs again, and we should trust this downtrending momentum, and watch for prepare for the opposing reactions against it. So I'm planning for an exit, hopefully between 580, optimistic, or 490 if we have a hard time getting there. And then I'd rotate to something like Cubic if you want to, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, need a break. Can we check pump? Yeah. Is this thing still dumping? Let's find out. We had a key level drawn. Looks like it's broke it. Let's go back. Okay, so we had our daily level here that we need to have a daily close above for us to be bullish on this thing again. We had this. Oh, we're hopeful for a double bottom here, but we never got it. About area high. So like it looks like the last great opportunity was roughly around here. Break this downtrending momentum out of bell area low. Yeah, and then we had the change character here, awkwardly in the middle of a valley area. So it takes a lot of trust. And SFP, nice. Let's go back to the daily for a second, just to see how. Oh, come on. Oh yeah, we just need a daily kind of close above it. But so far, so good. We're starting to like. When we're looking at this on the daily, we're seeing like a tweeter top kind of reaction, starting to engulf the previous candle. We mitigate the supply risk, so we can delete that. We have a new valley area that we can pull from here to here. We're getting kind of like head and shoulders kind of vibes. Our current key level is here on pump. So congrats if you got in on this. Yeah, we have a bunch of key levels along the way that we've got to watch out for. But if we break this, you're going to do is a drop down to here, and hopefully we stabilize above this previous value area high and just keep legging our way up. We did just recently break this momentum here, it seems. But we have a broad momentum here and the evolving momentum right here that broke. And we're starting to use it as resistance, which is super common with the head and shoulders. You can look back on a lot of like head and shoulders and see that when momentum broke, the right shoulder is usually developed from hitting a head off of a golden pocket and confluence with momentum. But yeah. So I'm looking to prepare for a bearish move because trying to get it on the continuation might not be very safe right now. Unless we came down, we might be able to prepare for something around like that around here for a long, like around like 0.002926. But our next key area of interest that we want to see acceptance within is here. So at 0.003643, get that break of structure and get that rotation to its value area high, and then take one value area at a time. I don't know much about the tokenomics for pump, but hopefully it will support something like this and that's not too crazy inflationary. But it's a young asset, so it shouldn't be too wild. And hopefully that it's not so inflationary impacting that we can't get back to its all-time high again. Hey Kyle, what do you think of RLB? They have burnt 60% of the supply so far. How are they burning it? Are they there's different types of burning methods. If it's like a buyback burn, that's more impactful. It permanently increases the floor value, and yeah, it can also de-risk the ability for hitting certain levels ever again if it's a buyback burn. Like Karma, for example, a lot of more than half of the burns that occur are based on like buyback burns. I'll have to look at their chart. RLB, you said. I don't see it. Rollbit? Here, point me out at weird stuff here. Let's see. I'm trying to save the asset with burning. 2 key value areas. Value area low. Get our value area high. I do got to head out soon, guys. We're hitting our head off of the 200-day EMA. We got acceptance into the value area. I'll be very, very cautious trading this. Like buying and holding is one story, but trading this would kick your butt. It disrespects market structure with wicks all the time, and it can just easily knock you out when you don't need to be knocked out. You know what I mean? Like for example, we had this break of structure where you'd likely prepare for, like after you got this change character reaction, right, you jump into a trade, got this break structure, evolve your stop loss from here to here, right? And then we have a following one. So you evolve your stop loss from here to here, and then you have this wild wick that comes down and sweeps both those lows and still manage to close back inside the valley area. Like that wick, it's like 24% decline and recapture. So it lost almost 25% of its market cap in a single candle, then reclaimed it. So super volatile. So again, this is more of like a buy and hold thing. If this is even the asset that you want me to look at, like based on this chart, it looks pretty messy. But if we get above the 200-day EMA, let's say we manage to like hold at least the body levels of this momentum, because it's not really expecting it candle wick wise. We could end up rotating up to the point of control within the next 29 days based on this chart. But yeah, it's really choppy. I'll be careful with it. We do have that acceptance on the daily, which is nice. So we can potentially prepare for that rotation up to the value area high. Just be mindful of the supply concerns along the way. The point of control will be the big one. But if it's burning, that's a good sign. Like you want the creators to be actively aware, like that maybe their tokenomics could be improved. If they burn 60% of their supply, that's great. Okay, look at Omni. I looked at Ethereum already. Omni, I'm actually curious about Omni. What it's doing. Last cycle, I was interested in it. If it's the same Omni I'm thinking of. Nope, it's probably, yeah, it doesn't look like it. Okay, we have this broad momentum here. We have this area of interest here in the daily. We broke this double bottom posture, very wicky as well. At least it has upside wicks and not downside wicks in an uptrend. Downside wicks are rude because you're think about the order flow and where people's stop losses are, right? You don't mind a pump wick, but the ones that come down are the ones that will frustrate you for sure. So here, yeah, we got another break of structure, right? We got above here. We're just trying to get that, honor the 200-day EMA as support, and maybe we'll break this downtrending momentum that's been holding it down. If we fully mitigate this supply risk, we did here too with this wick. So it should be all those sell orders hopefully have been fully filled, and it'll be a lot easier for the price action to climb back up. This is a previous value area low that you want to see acceptance within to potentially get a rotation up to $10 from $7.53. This gives me the vibes as if like Omni's supply might be kind of low. It's able to move so quickly. But we got that daily change of character occurrence, so it flipped daily ever since. But right now we want to hold above the 200. If we lose the 200, right, either we do get the higher high or not, we can rotate back down to this demand zone here, where this 200-day or the 50-day EMA is, and these daily order blocks. Got a couple of them stacking on top of each other. So if we do break this neckline, we might have an opportunity to jump back in down here. Let's jump back over to Bitcoin. My bad. I got to clear some of the noise on Bitcoin. Not all these value area polls are relevant anymore. All these levels are still relevant. I'll draw them out for you guys again. And yeah, I'll clear this chart for you guys, and I'll make another post inside the community for this chart so it's easier for you guys to see. Okay, guys, I got to head out. I really appreciate everyone who's attended, who's been sharing, liking, subscribing, all that fun stuff. I had a lot of fun. We went through a lot of assets today, like 2 hours of TA. Went through Bitcoin, Cubic, Cardano, Ethereum, Dot, Link, XRP, Solana, Hype. A couple of little weird ones. But yeah, reach out to me if you need any help in the Discord. You have a great day, guys. But yeah, trade safe and have a great weekend. Thanks, guys.